I was already at the door. Jacket on, keys in my hand, the particular kind of quiet that means a person has decided something and is done deciding. I had been going over it for 3 weeks. Longer if I'm honest, but 3 weeks since it had sharpened into something I could name. I wasn't running from anything dramatic. That's the thing people don't understand about the kind of leaving I was planning. It wasn't dramatic, it was quiet. It was the decision a man makes when he has been doing things the same way for long enough that he stops being able to imagine a different way, and one day he looks at his own life from the outside and thinks, something needs to change, and the something is me, in this place, doing this. And then her hand was on my arm, and I stayed. My name is Jonah Reeves. I was 31, a high school history teacher, which is the kind of job people respond to with a particular mixture of respect and pity that I had learned to read accurately by the time I was 26. The respect is for the idea of it, shaping young minds, carrying forward the past, all the things that sound right in a commencement speech. The pity is for the reality of it, which is that you spend most of your days trying to make a room full of people care about something that happened before they were born, and some days you succeed and some days you don't, and the days you do are still the best days I've had in this life, so I wasn't going anywhere professionally. The going somewhere I was considering was personal. I had lived in the apartment on Clement Street in San Francisco for 2 years, in the bottom half of a divided Victorian that smelled like old wood and coffee, and the particular proximity of a city that doesn't leave much room between people. I had the front bedroom, Priya Anand had the back one, with the window that looked over the garden, which was technically a shared space that neither of us had ever touched except to set 2 chairs in it the second summer, after a long Saturday of buying plants we were both honest enough to admit we'd probably kill. We killed them. The chairs stayed. Priya was 30, a UX designer at a company in Soma that made software for things she could never fully explain to me in a way I could track, but she tried every time I asked, and I always asked, because the trying was interesting even when the result was beyond me. She had moved into the back bedroom about 3 weeks after me, answering the Craigslist post I had put up with what she later told me was deliberate underpromising. She'd described herself as quiet and low maintenance, which was accurate in the way that calling the Pacific fairly large is accurate. She was quiet in the sense that she did not fill silence with noise. She was low maintenance in the sense that she never required anything from you that you hadn't agreed to give. She was also, underneath both of those things, one of the more completely alive people I had ever been in a room with. She noticed things. She found things funny that deserved to be found funny, and did not perform laughter for things that didn't. She had opinions about architecture and about the ethics of free-to-play mobile games and about the correct order in which to approach a dim sum table, and she held all of them with the same unhurried certainty of someone who had thought them through and was prepared to defend them, but not prepared to perform convictions she didn't have. I want to be careful here, because for almost 2 years I had been careful, in a different sense. I had been careful not to examine what I actually felt about living 2 doors down from Priya Anand, because examining it required admitting it, and admitting it required doing something about it, and doing something about it required being willing to risk the thing we had. The easy, comfortable thing, the home. So instead I had done what I did with things I wasn't ready to look at directly. I had filed it. Put it somewhere the daily business of my life didn't require me to open, until I couldn't anymore. The thing I was leaving for was not a thing I'd told her about. It was a teaching fellowship, a semester program in Edinburgh, through a university exchange my department head had forwarded to me in August with a note that said simply, "This seems like you." 6 months in Scotland teaching a survey of 20th century American history to undergraduates who had a different relationship to it than my San Francisco students did. From the outside, looking in, which I had always thought was the more honest angle anyway. It paid a modest stipend. It came with a small flat near the university. It was the kind of opportunity you apply for without believing you'll get it, because applying feels like doing something without requiring you to actually decide anything. And then you get it, and then you sit with the acceptance email for 3 weeks trying to work out what you've decided. I had been accepted in September. I had told no one in my life. I had told my department head I needed a week to think it through, and I was now at the end of week 3 of that week. The practical case for going was straightforward. Edinburgh was a city I had never been to and had always wanted to see. The program was well regarded. The teaching would stretch me in ways that my current classroom, which I loved but knew as completely as I knew my own apartment, could not. 6 months abroad at 31, before whatever the next decade brought, it was the kind of thing that, described to someone else, sounds obvious. Of course you go. What are you waiting for? And that was the problem. What I was waiting for was clarity on why I wasn't sure I wanted to go, and clarity required looking at the thing I had not been looking at, which was the reason the apartment on Clement Street had come to feel like the only place in the world where I was entirely myself. That reason was Priya. Not because of anything she had said. She had said nothing that indicated she thought of us as anything other than what we visibly were. Two people who shared an address and had, over the course of almost 2 years, become genuinely important to each other in the way that close friends are important. She cooked for me when I was grading papers at 11 o'clock and forgot to eat. I fixed the window in her bedroom that stuck in the damp. We had a system for groceries and a system for whose turn it was to deal with the landlord, and a system for the nights one of us needed the living room and the other needed to disappear, which functioned so naturally that it felt less like an arrangement and more like something the apartment had always known about itself. We watched television together on Friday nights with the kind of easy quiet that takes years to develop between people. We argued about things, whether a certain film had earned its ending, whether the sourdough place on California or the one on Clement was actually better, whether history or design was the more honest discipline, a question that had been running since month 2 and had produced some of the better conversations of my adult life. She made me think harder than almost anyone I knew. She made me laugh at things I hadn't noticed were funny. She had a way of looking at problems, at anything, that rearranged them into their actual shape, stripped of the noise that surrounded them, and I had come to rely on that quality the way you rely on a fixed point, without examining what it would mean to not have it. And underneath all of that, underneath the easy systems and the Friday evenings and the kitchen conversations, I had been aware for more than a year of something I was not examining. The way a room shifted when she walked into it, for me. The way I oriented toward her in groups of people without deciding to. The way her name in my phone produced a specific quality of reaction that other names did not, and that I had filed under the general category of things I am not opening right now. If I went to Edinburgh, I would have to open it. I would have to know whether I was going because the fellowship was the right thing and I was brave enough to take it, or whether I was going because staying required saying the thing, and I wasn't sure I was willing to say it and find out what it cost me. That was the calculation. That was what 3 weeks of going in circles looked like on the inside. I put my jacket on at 10:44 on a Tuesday night. I was going to walk to the bay. The fog, the cold water, the specific weight of November air off the Pacific. Clear the head. Come back having decided something. I was at the door, keys in hand, and she came out of the kitchen. The look lasted about 1 second. The look lasted about 1 second. 1 second where she took in the jacket, the keys, the time, 10:48 on a Tuesday, and whatever had been living in my face for 3 weeks that I hadn't known was visible until I saw her register it. She was holding a bowl of something. I think she had been making soup. She looked like she had been in the kitchen for an hour, which was what she did when she was working through a design problem she couldn't solve at her desk. She cooked things. She said the repetitive physical process of it sorted out the tangle. She set the bowl down on the hallway table. She crossed the 4 feet between us. She put her hand on my arm, right above the elbow, the grip of someone who is not asking. "Don't go," she said. "Not tonight." I looked at her hand on my arm. She was wearing the oversized gray sweater she wore on evenings she was home for good. Genuinely oversized, not the kind that was designed to look that way. The real kind that you inherit from someone taller and keep because it is comfortable, and comfortable things are not to be given up. It had a small pull in the left sleeve, about 3 inches above the cuff, that she had been meaning to fix for the better part of 6 months. Her hair was down. She had the quality of stillness that appeared when she was paying complete attention to something. Not calm, exactly. "Present Priya," I said. "I know," she said. "I know you weren't going to tell me you were going. I know you think you've been handling it." She did not let go of my arm. "You've been somewhere else for 3 weeks. I didn't say anything because I couldn't find the way in. And tonight you have the face you get when you've decided something, and I don't know what you've decided, but I need you to not decide it without." She stopped. "Without what?" I said. She looked at me. Her hand was still on my arm. The hallway was small, and the light was the yellowy overhead light that neither of us had ever bothered to replace with something better. And between us there was the 3 weeks and the 14 months and the 2 years and the bowl of soup cooling on the table. "Come sit with me," she said. "1 hour. If you still want to go after that, I won't say a word." We sat in the kitchen, not the couch. We had always done our real talking in the kitchen. 2 chairs pulled out from the table and turned slightly toward each other, the way they always ended up when we were actually in a conversation rather than just occupying the same space. The overhead light too bright. Both of us not bothering to do anything about it. She made tea while I sat there with my jacket still on, which I noticed but didn't fix. She brought both mugs to the table and sat down and looked at me for a moment the way she looked at design problems, from the outside first, full picture, before moving to any single part of it. "Edinburgh," she said. I looked at her. "Your school email forwarded to the shared account when your inbox was full," she said. Which it was in September for about 4 days. I saw the subject line. She wrapped both hands around her mug. I didn't open it. "But you've known." "Since September," she looked at her tea. "I kept waiting for you to bring it up." "I was going to." "I know you were." A pause. "That's not what I'm stuck on." "What are you stuck on?" She looked up at me. "Why you haven't answered it yet?" she said. "It's been 3 months, Jonah. It's a semester fellowship. They want an answer. And you are the most decisive person I know on every other subject, and you have been sitting on this since September, and I need to know what the reason is. Because I think I know, and I need you to tell me if I'm right." The kitchen was very quiet. The building said the things old buildings say at midnight. Outside, the fog was doing its November work on the streetlights, turning each one into a soft bloom of light that didn't reach very far. "You know the reason," I said. She held my gaze. "I need you to say it," she said. "I've been waiting 3 months for you to say it, and I cannot keep being in this apartment acting like things are the same as they've always been, because they are not the same, and I think you know they're not the same. I think we have been the most careful people in the world with each other for almost 2 years. I think careful was the wrong thing to be." A pause. "I chose careful because I didn't want to lose what we had by reaching for what I wanted. And now you're standing at the door in your jacket at 11 o'clock at night, and I am out of careful." I set my mug down on the table. "If I go," I said, "something ends, something I don't want to end." "What something?" I looked at her across the kitchen table. The too bright light, the mug between her hands, the flower on her left wrist she still hadn't noticed. "You know what something," I said. "Jonah. Us," I said. "Whatever us is, whatever we've been for 2 years, that isn't what it is and is also exactly what it is, and neither of us has said it out loud, because saying it out loud changes everything, and what we have right now is, it's something, it's already something, and saying the thing risks the something." I stopped. "That something." She held my gaze for a long moment. "And if you don't go," she said, "then I spend the rest of my life wondering if I stayed for the right reason or the convenient one." I shook my head slowly. "I've been going in circles on this for 3 months. I can't sort out whether I want to stay because I want to be here, with you, in this apartment, in this life, or whether I'm afraid of what staying means, what it requires me to say. I can't find the bottom of it." She was very still. "What does staying mean?" she said. "It means saying the thing. Then say it." The word sat between us for a moment. Just that. Then say it, like it was simple. Like the 2 years of not saying it had not been 2 years of both of us choosing the good, comfortable thing over the risk of the true thing. Over and over, every day, in every kitchen conversation and every Friday evening and every morning we passed each other in the hallway pretending we were just people who lived near each other. I looked at her across the kitchen table at midnight in November. She had flour on her left wrist from whatever she'd been making before she found me at the door. I could see it in the overhead light, just a faint dusting she hadn't noticed. Her sweater had the pull in the sleeve. The tea was getting cold. Outside, the fog was sitting on the whole city, and inside this kitchen, with the too bright light and the old wood sounds, Priya Anand was looking at me with the full quality of her attention, which was the most complete kind of being seen I had ever experienced, and I had been living with it for 2 years and calling it something other than what it was. "I don't want to go to Edinburgh," I said. "I want to go to Edinburgh, because it's the right kind of thing to want, and I worked for it, and I should want it." but when I think about 6 months in a flat near a university I've never seen in a city where I don't know anyone, the only thing I can think is that you won't be 2 doors down. I stopped. That's the thing I've been carrying. That's why I haven't answered the email. She looked at me. That's it, she said. Not a question. That's it. She set her mug down. I've been in love with you for 14 months, she said. Approximately. I have a rough start date, but I'm open to revision. A pause. I didn't say anything because you were happy, and things were good, and I didn't know how to say it without changing everything, and I thought maybe changing everything was selfish, when what we had was already something. I looked at her. You've been carrying that for 14 months, I said. Approximately. While I've been carrying the other thing. Apparently. At the same time. In the same apartment, she said. 2 doors down. I looked at the flower on her wrist that she hadn't noticed. I looked at the pull in the sleeve. I looked at the too bright kitchen and the tea going cold, and the woman who had put her hand on my arm at the door and told me not to go. I'm not going, I said. She held very still. Jonah, she said. Don't stay because... I'm not staying because I'm afraid, I said. I know the difference between those two things now. I can feel the difference. I looked at her. I'm staying because I am in love with you and have been for some amount of time. I'm also prepared to revise, and because the only thing Edinburgh means to me is that you won't be 2 doors down, and I am done pretending that's a logistical issue. There it was. The kitchen held it for a moment, then she laughed. A real one, the kind that comes before the decision to laugh, and she pressed the back of her hand against her mouth, and her eyes were bright in the too bright light. You absolute idiot, she said. 3 months. I know, I said. I've been eating dinner alone in this kitchen for 3 months, being extremely calm about it. You're very good at being calm about things. I am terrible at it, actually, she said. I've been terrible at it this whole time. I just look calm. I turned down the fellowship. My department head was gracious about it and asked if everything was all right, and I said everything was more than all right, which was accurate and probably confusing, and she said she hoped I knew there'd be other cycles, other years. I said I did. I meant it. Edinburgh will still be there. The program will run again. I am 31 and there is time for things. There is always, it turns out, more time than you think when you stop treating the present like a problem to solve. The program found another candidate. I don't know who. I hope it was someone who needed it the way I would have needed it before Priya Anand came out of her kitchen at 10:48 on a Tuesday and put her hand on my arm and said the 4 words that gave me back the thing I had almost talked myself out of. We did not move fast. Moving fast would have been wrong for the thing we were building, which was built on 2 years of already knowing each other. The habits and the particular rhythms and the way the other person takes their coffee and what they sound like when they're on a work call they find frustrating and what they need when something has gone sideways. We already had all of that. We had built the interior of something without building the exterior. Now we were just letting the exterior catch up. She keeps the back bedroom, I keep the front one. We have not killed any new plants. The chairs in the garden are still there. And sometimes in the early evening when the fog hasn't come in yet, we sit in them. And she tells me about the design problem she's working through, and I tell her about whatever corner of the 20th century I'm trying to make a room full of teenagers care about. And neither of us is always right, but we are always listening. She has not fixed the pull in the sleeve of the gray sweater. I have not mentioned it. Some things you learn to love exactly as they are. Have you ever been at the door, really at the door, ready to go, and had someone stop you before you made a choice you couldn't take back? And have you ever been living 2 doors down from something you were afraid to name, for so long that naming it felt like the most dangerous thing you could do? Tell me your story in the comments. If this one found you at the right moment, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.